Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the fifth episode of Dream Career Talk Show. Dream Career Talk Show is a part of my mission to transform 10 million lives by helping people to unlock their full potential and grow fast in their careers. Now, here on this show, we are going to have industry experts from various domains who can share their knowledge, their challenges, their experiences, their failures, and success, which can help the corporate professionals to get clarity, direction, hope, inspiration, and of course, the right steps to build their dream career. We all know that mergers and acquisitions are something which tend to result in job losses as well. Employees can suddenly see a lot of changes happening around in the company and they get confused. We see employees start feeling insecure, not sure how to how to deal with it. Sugita, who is today on our show, Sugeeta Madan, comes from comes with 27 plus years of experience in HR, specialized in mergers and acquisitions. Sugita is a transformation mentor. She is the founder of the Tree of Zeal. She has spent more than 2 decades in careers in HR in global organizations in the high-tech semiconductor industry mainly, and she has areas of expertise of mergers and acquisitions, strategic HRM, succession planning, tech startups and incubation units, career progression, cost center management, employee development initiatives, innovative employment options, and many other things. She has been associated with a global NGO for about 4 years for a long term human demographics project. She has interviewed over 3,000 people as a part of this project. Her interests also include automobile mods, rally racing, traveling, exploring diverse cultures and heritage, experimenting with natural food, reading, and writing. Sugita, welcome to the talk show. I'm glad you are here with us.
Thank you, Fatha. Thank you for the awesome introduction. I suddenly felt really, thrilled. Thanks a lot for the introduction.
Thank you, Sugita. It's an honor to have you on this particular show today. So, Sugita, can you talk about your initial career journey? How did you get started, and how did you actually get into the HR space and wherever you are today?
Okay. Uh, Fatha, for me, immediately after my education, I had started working with one of the IT organizations. And, that time in the 1990s, early 1990s, that was the time when the IT industry had just started booming in India. And things were being noticed everywhere. And I started my career with an IT organization, which of course was, the you can say the father or the mother of all other IT organizations which came into place gradually. So that is where we all had our training ground, and I was lucky to be there. Got a lot to learn and execute and implement. Of course, initially you don't get to play all the parts of an HR professional. It is a very mundane job. But as I progressed with other organizations, I realized that there is a lot more to be done and learned. And of course, the more you step out and the more you take on, you can really, really grow. And I had the good fortune of having some awesome supervisors and bosses to work with who gave a lot of responsibility and the chance to grow in diverse fields. So M&A is one area, mergers and acquisitions, where I just ventured into by chance when my organization was acquiring some other organizations. And that is how the journey started.
Okay, that's great. And how did you what is the role of a HR in acquisitions and mergers? Like, what is the actual role there of HRs?
Fatah, the role of HR in a typical merger and acquisition deal is very important, and more so because employees are involved at both sides. With the acquiring company and the acquired company or the merging organizations, they all are made up of employees, especially in the technology space. That is the chief asset. So that is why, somewhere without having HR play an important role, in working out the synergies and deciding, what kind of a new setup in the organizational structure is going to be looked into, it's going to be very difficult to work things out. So, needless to say, HR plays a very important role.
Okay, and I want to ask a basic question here. Like, what is the difference between mergers and acquisitions? Are they the same, or if they are different, what is it that's different about that?
Yeah, they are quite different. Merger is essentially a very friendly kind of a, combination, you can say, in layman terms, of two organizations who feel they can find synergies in growing together and complementing each other in terms of their skills, manpower, technology space, customer base, and they don't want to end up competing for the same kind of customers in that space. So they decide very amicably to come together. So again, employees definitely go through somewhat of a turbulence, but acquisition is a more aggressive game. That is where, a bigger organization or a more powerful organization feels they can acquire another organization, and they can, use their or leverage their skills to their benefit. So usually we feel that the acquiring organization is at a much better place compared to the company being acquired. And of course, employees at both ends, as it is, face turbulence. But I think there are a lot of more insecurities to be addressed at the end of the company being acquired. So that is the, you can say, basic, broad, top level difference between mergers and acquisitions.
Okay, and how long does this typically happen? Like, what is the time period for any acquisition, and what is the role again HR plays in that particular acquisition?
Okay, so see, acquisitions or mergers take a lot of time, because right from deciding that this kind of a step is going to be taken, sorry, you know there are so many things that need to be taken into account, from the financials to technology, manpower, the industry space, the customers, and future growth, and of course the revenue streams. So when you look at these things, these are long drawn out processes with the involvement of internal and external legal entities. A lot of cross verification needs to take place, a lot of due diligence needs to take place. So these are all essentially very long drawn out processes, and they have to be addressed with a lot of patience on both ends. And there are instances where there are more than two entities involved, that takes things to an even more higher level of confusion. So I think people who are working on these projects obviously realize that they can be lasting from anything from a few months to even a couple of years. And even then, unfortunately, there are instances when the deal falls through. So all that amount of effort, time, energy, and money goes waste. But well, that's the way things work.
Okay, and how is the communication done to the employees? Is it at the very initial stage when the acquisition or merger is being discussed, or it is in between, or does it happen like at the end after everything is sorted out there?
I think right in the beginning, only the very senior staff is involved. And as the deal progresses or as the discussions progress, then the employees are given a little feeler about it. But the final announcement takes place once at the end of the entire signing off process. But employees, of course, are aware that this is what is happening. And in some cases, human resources or business unit heads may reach out to their employee staff and tell them that, fine, guys, this is happening, but you do not need to worry. You carry on with your work, and you don't need to face any insecurities, because addressing the rumor mill at that time is also very important.
Right. Yeah. So there are usually like lots of rumors, fears, and all that. So who gets involved in the communication process? Does HR also get involved in that communication process?
Yes. As far as reaching out to the world is concerned, it is the marketing communications that look into it, or maybe public relations. But The communication to employees and internal communication has to go through HR, because somewhere along the line, uh, not only is that the responsibility of the HR function, but employees are more attuned to the organization's human resource processes. And I think it is only right that human resources steps into that role.
Mm-hmm. And mergers and acquisitions do impact employees, right? And
Absolutely, in a big way.
how does that happen? Like, can you help us understand more from employees' perspective? What kind of impact that you have seen or people should understand about?
Fatah, starting from when the rumor mills start working, which in any case they do, there are a lot of levels of the grapevine being worked upon, and employees feel insecure, because one thing which is very sure for them is that they might end up losing their jobs,
Hmm.
or they might end up losing that particular function, or that particular business unit may not be active anymore in the organization. It may be made redundant. So for them, definitely stress is one way which they get affected in. Also, while the deal is going through or the discussions are going on, employees at times, they have to stall in their work,
Hmm.
because both sides are still trying to work out how they are going to move ahead, or if they are going to work around on a combined venture or initiative. So work definitely gets affected. And with work getting affected, even if you try to put employees through trainings which may be upskilling them for the future, they still tend to feel insecure.
Hmm.
They may be also facing a lot of issues post merger. So there may be things which are related to psychological trauma, or they may maybe they might end up losing their jobs, or there may be pay cuts, or they may end up losing certain of their benefits because the new entity may not be having those benefits at all. So
Right.
it can work both ways. It can be a positive thing post merger, it can be a negative thing. There may be a group of employees that gets a better benefit by virtue of their being in a more important function as compared to
Right.
the others. So definitely it's turbulence all over, but that's the way most of the IT industry, especially in the semiconductor domain, is growing.
Okay. And what can employees do differently, or how can they proactively be ready for any change that happens in from the mergers or acquisitions? Right? Is there anything that you can suggest to the employees?
Fine. Fatah, I've been involved on both sides of the table. First, as an employee, as a part of human resources, I worked with two organizations who were actively acquiring organizations and other companies. And then from the outside, as a consultant. For about 2.5 years, I was simply working as a consultant, and I was also assisting a huge conglomerate in acquisitions. So,
Mm.
when times go turbulent in the industry, when there is a lot of consolidation happening, uh, bigger organizations tend to look for uh, companies with whom they can merge or which can be acquired, and they complement their skills and customer base. So, if you talk about growth in those times, yes, it is definitely something which happens. But the way employees need to prepare themselves always is keep upskilling yourself. And by upskilling, I do not mean only in your technical domain. It is also in the way you are growing as a person. Your career growth is your responsibility. But the unfortunate decision that most of us take or make is that we leave it to our employers. So
Hmm.
we go ahead with the standard training programs that are scheduled by them, and we only try to enroll for what is being offered by the company. We never tend to go and look outside and see how they can develop themselves as overall professionals, or as rounded human beings, completely you can say skilled in so many respects. And learning is a continuous process. I have seen, even when I was working in the corporate sector, When trainings are scheduled, there are so many people who do not turn up, or they feel that it's a waste of time. And now, with recordings being available, they feel that they can watch the recording later on. And many people lose out on learning new skills. And I mean, we are not even talking about going out and acquiring new skills. We are just talking about what is being on offer, and employees are not even open to taking that up. So, yes, I think something which we all need to do is build ourselves. That's one. The second part, which they also need to really focus on, is that they cannot be employees forever. They have to work out a career progression, and they should discuss it with their supervisors and bosses and see how it is being aligned to the corporate growth. And now, today, sitting here, I say, if your personal growth is not aligned with the corporate growth and vice versa, please go out and look for another position. Be open and explore, because now we don't live in an oyster. We live in a huge world, and we are so globally integrated. Everyone can work anywhere. Sitting here, one can work for an organization in Iceland or maybe Australia or Tasmania. So global boundaries have gone away. Keep yourself open to a global mindset. So changing your mindset is something which I lay a lot of stress upon.
Yeah, makes sense. And I also strongly believe in that as an employee, we need to own our own career, right? We can't leave it either to our bosses or to our HRs as well, right? Because yes, whatever comes from the company as a benefit, we all get it. But it cannot be that we are always dependent only on the company. Right? Many people do this mistake that they are just waiting for the trainings, the upgradations, whatever that needs to come only from the company. Right? And when they have to spend their own money, then they are not ready to invest. Right? And typically these people are the ones who actually later start feeling that there are a lot of challenges and they are not able to grow at all, right? More because they are just trying to stick on whatever is provided from the company. And I think you made a very important point here, and that completely is based on mindset. A person having a growth mindset where he or she wants to grow, right? I think will go ahead and invest in themselves and start learning and start looking out whatever they are looking for, rather than just waiting for the employer to give that for free. Right?
Absolutely.
And as a HR, right, if somebody wants to get into the mergers and acquisitions, what is the eligibility criteria, or what do they need to understand, or what is the kind of background that they need to have if somebody wants to become a HR and then majorly into this acquisitions and mergers?
Fatah, for human resources, I think we have a part of it as a section during our education. So that is the base you can consider. But
Hmm.
all the time, organizations are not acquiring. This is, something where you enter into either by design or by accident.
Hmm.
And I think having a legal background is important. Having a legal certification in mergers and acquisitions definitely adds to the value. But look out, if your company is on the verge of discussing such a deal, bring it across to them that you would be interested in participating, and then work your way up. The more value you add, the more valuable you become.
Okay, so even if somebody has not specialized, there is no specialization as such, right? Or somebody has to have come with that degree.
See, in the legal terms, for lawyers, yes, that is a specialization. But for human
Okay.
resources, unless you are a qualified lawyer, there won't be any such thing. But of course, there are well known institutions which are offering these certifications, or you can say, short courses or modules as a part of their management development programs.
Okay. And while entering into this HR teams, the one trend that I have seen when many corporate professionals talk is, I need to do an MBA to get into HR space, right? And that's where they start getting into MBA into HR. And you also did your MBA in HR from one of the reputed institutions, right? So, how far do you think the MBAs are required, or how far does it contribute to somebody's career success?
Uh, Fatah, These are purely my views, but I do not subscribe to, additional degrees and qualifications and continuing on that. I believe in a base education, and then, put yourself through real time situations to learn things. Use your common sense. Of course, if you want to do an MBA, go ahead and do it. But I think the hype has been too much on getting that degree or a stamp.
Right.
And I think I know of some very good professionals who were not MBAs in human resources, but they came with that Midas touch of, connecting with people. And
Right.
that took them really far in their careers. So I see a lot of engineers also, quitting and then preparing for their CAT exams and going through the MBA route to get into management. And I think that is something we can do without. A lot of common sense, a lot of innovation, and maybe, just doing a lot of reading and listening. And of course, we have Google nowadays, everything is there. So recently, I've started believing in this stream of education. And if Google were available in our times, I, at times joke that maybe I would have dropped out after my 10th. This vast, pool of information which is available, and anyone can tap into it anytime from any part of the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Sugita, for being honest on this particular thing. Because my philosophy also is, don't run behind certifications, don't chase for those advanced degrees. Because I believe people are wasting a lot of time and money just to chase those degrees. And that is only written in your resume, or it's just on the paper. But here people are not acquiring anything, right? There are no skills. And I did this mistake for many years as well, and I come with walking on that path, failing on that path, understanding that this is not the way to grow. And when you are talking about coming from that reputed institutions and doing that MBAs, and you are being honest and open here, I think people can get to understand that it's always skills, understanding and learning those vital skills, than just putting things on paper, right? Those degrees, those certifications, they may not help you at all, right? And wasting so much of time and money, you can actually put that time and money in the right places. And as you said, Google is
Yes,
there, a lot of things are available as resources to learn. Yeah.
absolutely. And there are some awesome people out there, who are sharing their knowledge. I think people should connect more with them for specific areas rather than, going through the entire MBA route and spending 2 years on it and coming back and then realizing, oh God, this is not what I want to do. Because dealing with people, I realized that many of them feel once they join in the management cadre that things are very different than what they appear to be when they were outside it.
Right.
So, yes, I think times have changed. And previously there used to be that mindset that without a degree you are not considered for a certain position, but even corporates are now taking a very different view. If there are people with skills, of course, they are welcome with open arms.
Right, right. I think it's still taking time for people to understand, because for me there are so many people who keep reaching out and asking these queries. Okay, Fatah, from where should I do an MBA? Which certification should I do? And honestly, I'm the last person who would recommend that. Right? And people should understand. And as you rightly said, right, there can be bits and pieces that you can learn from people, from their experiences, right? If somebody is coming, like you coming from that space where you were in HR, like mergers, acquisitions, learning from you on that practical stuff rather than just reading the theory and the books makes a lot of sense. Learning from somebody who is like a agile or a scrum master, who has been there, done it, it makes a lot of sense, right? Somebody who is into analytics makes a lot of sense. Because I remember I just did a small online program from a very reputed online university, I mean foreign university, and I ended up paying 1.25 lakhs for a 3 months online course.
That's a
And
lot of money.
yeah, so I see a lot of people continuing to do that mistake. And today when they see the foreign universities also collaboration with Indian universities are doing a lot of MBA programs, a lot of short term programs, people are just running behind those degrees without understanding that that is not that can help them. It is the real skills, right? Understanding real skills, maybe learn from the real people, coaches, mentors, right, who have walked that path, who have learned that, who have seen that. And that shift actually made a huge impact in my life as well. When I made that shift and started learning from coaches and mentors, I believe that's when I started learning the real communication skills, leadership skills, right, which I could not gather from books. And honestly, from those certifications, I could not really gather that. It was just the paper, right? It was just paper, which I think long time back I started throwing away those papers as well. A lot of certifications I had, I started throwing them out. That's how it is. Okay, and you have spent a lot of time in the semiconductor industry. Like, is this industry different than the IT and the other industry? If yes, like what do you see the difference in this industry is?
Yes, Fatah, even as a part of the IT industry, the semicon industry works in very different ways. Firstly, it's the skills that are required, the kind of technologies that are being used, and there are very few people who are willing to slog it out on one microprocessor chip design for maybe a couple of months or couple of years. And this industry is chiefly R&D oriented. A very little part of it is services oriented. So most big organizations have their R&D units and centers. Even the smaller ones, they pool in millions of dollars into development of a chip. And by the time, the chip may be fabricated and out there for sale, the industry may have shifted. So there is that uncertainty also attached to it. So you see that the people working in this industry are very strong people. They also
Hmm.
have very strong mindsets. They have patience. They of course have a lot of perseverance. They need to come with a lot of skills which are not only technically oriented but also have a great human interaction phase as well, because uh, many people are supervisors to teams that spend endless nights doing something. There may be problems there are bugs that may be, uh, of a very different kind, and they are not able to really discern what happened wrong, what went wrong, where it went wrong. So those kind of things are definitely there. That's one. Then again, the consolidation that happens in this industry, because now we realize that there are a lot of plug and play units which can be integrated, and a lot of work is now less probably on slogging it out and more on integration and finding uh, synergies from other places and other organizations which can be used and integrated into your chip and its outer layers. So right now I'm talking from a purely a layman perspective. So yes, the industry is different. The kind of salaries that are being offered are also very different, and the kind of benefits and bonuses are indeed mind-boggling. But
Okay.
all in all, I think the people who work here are heroes in a way. I see them that
Okay.
way.
Okay. Great. Great. And you spoke about salaries are different. You have also worked for the IT industries. When you say salaries are different, are they like low salaries in the semiconductor industry, or are they more like, what is it when compared to the
Oh,
IT?
they are extremely well-paid people. People who work in this
Hmm.
industry, and especially in some niche skills, they are paid extremely well,
Okay. And
and they are
what
also
do
very
people
much in
need?
demand. Sorry.
Okay, great, great, great. Sorry to interrupt you there, but what do people need to have in terms of skills or education, or to get into this industry? What is that educational qualification, or what is the eligibility criteria here?
I think it is a base of having done your electronics and electrical engineering, because that is what forms the base of the transistor, understanding the transistor and circuits. So that's one. Uh, the second part is, of course, the trainings that you need to undergo on various tools and technologies, which may be different from what is required in the other industry. Of course, you need to have a strong Unix base, plus people with skills like VHDL and Verilog, the hardware design skills, they are very important over here. So that is the kind of skills that are required. And of course, a good system level understanding of what you are developing, the ability to visualize, a complete chip. uh, these chips may be very complicated, up to millions of gate designs. So definitely, that ability to foresee and design uh, various blocks that go into it is very important as well.
Okay. And is this industry a very small industry, or is it like a mid-sized, or is it a large industry? What is the kind of size of this industry in India, if we
Uh,
talk about?
Fatah, in India, if you see, and even globally, this industry is a very niche industry. You have big players like Intel, you have big players like, you can say Broadcom, and then you have smaller players who do a lot of small chips. So, so definitely it's a niche industry. Fewer people are employed there, but it's in a league of its own. That's you can what you can say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because we are talking about this, I can recall my college days. I had a lot of friends coming from the electronics background, right? And you said electronics and electrical educational qualification would help in this industry. But strangely, what I have seen is more than 70 to 80% got into the IT industry. So I was always thinking, like, what happens with electronics when they are actually doing 4 years of electronics engineering, some people even going ahead and doing some M Tech, and then finally entering into the IT industry, right? So are the jobs very less in this industry? What is the kind of job market here?
Yeah, I think the jobs are lesser. The
Hmm.
selection criteria is extremely tough,
Hmm.
and it is also, you need to really slog it out. So many people shy away from that,
Hmm.
and you feel people incline more towards the application oriented technologies than the system level ones, because they feel it's going to be lighter work.
Okay. And you have been in the field of HR where you have also handled career progression, employee development initiatives. Can you talk about some good initiatives that you had taken, or what are the good initiatives that can be taken up in terms of career planning, succession planning, and all that?
Yeah, Fatah. I think succession planning is one area where I feel a lot needs to be done, because none of us really plan an employee's career from the time he or she enters the organization and as they grow. So somewhere in between, everything is on. Uh, it goes by the flow. But whereas if you have a proper succession planning worked out for each employee, they
Hmm.
will be more motivated to learn new skills and also upgrade to taking on responsibilities and initiatives. That is somewhere we feel, especially in the technology industry, that is simply not there. People wait to be told what is to be done, and then they do it, and that's it. They really do not look forward to how they are going to grow year upon year. Besides a salary and a designation, most employees make the unfortunate mistake of not looking beyond to see how they can grow and become more responsible. You can say, have a more responsible place within the organization.
Hmm.
They think about their growth as very different from an organizational perspective. So instead of, taking on more initiatives, like maybe, motivating their team members or learning new skills and sharing them, talking about new technologies or initiatives that are happening globally, what they do is just complete their work, go home, wait for the annual increment, maybe, not feel happy about it, wait for the promotion after every 2 years. If it doesn't happen again, they are not happy about it. So all in all, it becomes a very monotonous work environment for them as well as the management. So here
Hmm.
is where both employees and, uh, you can say, organizations need to step up. The initiative has to be, of course, implemented by the organization, but employees also need to take into account that they must think about a career, not a job.
Right.
We still look at our work life as a job, not as a career that needs to progress year upon year. And we should be in a better position, doing more meaningful things which are close to our heart and be associated with them. And that is why we see, as people progress on years, they become more dissociated with their career and the dissatisfaction creeps in.
Right, right. And say some of the employees don't take initiatives, but some of the employees do take initiatives. They go talk to their managers about their succession planning and all that. And they see their managers are not able to help them. And sometimes they want to do differently, not really get the support from the managers. Now, how do you as a HR handle this kind of a situation and help the employees? Because the manager is never ready to help that employee to do something where he has to leave them, right? So how do you think as a HR this can be handled well?
Fatah, that is where, we need to step up completely as an organization when we work on succession planning ventures. But unfortunately, even from the organization side, these ventures never leave the meeting room.
Hmm.
They are never permeated down to the managers, line managers, and supervisors so that they are able, to share them with their employees. So somewhere along the line, we need to be very careful about what we share and how we share. That part about succession planning has to be there. It has to permeate to every person in the organization and not only be left with the management team.
Yeah.
So, somewhere where organizations need to really change their approaches, that succession planning is an organization wide venture globally and implement it in that respect so that everyone knows how they are moving up the ladder, what their progression looks like, and what are the responsibilities and skills and learnings that come with it.
Hmm. Okay. So maybe you can have what if, yeah.
Yeah, one sec. Go ahead, Fatah.
So coming back to mergers and acquisitions, I wanted to understand like what is the biggest challenge that you see when a merger or an acquisition is happening? What is the biggest challenge that you have seen?
Uh, Uncertainty. If I can sum it up in one word, it is uncertainty of what is going to happen and how it will happen. And it's not only the employees that are affected by it, it is also the management, it is also the team working on it, the legal team working on it. Everyone is totally, flummoxed by the uncertainty that hangs in there. So,
Right.
if even you talk about a small merger, there is a lot that goes into it. A lot of money, time, energy, and effort is spent into it. And then when you have these uncertainties of various kinds, going on, things can be really difficult for everybody. So it's, I think, uncertainty, which is the main thing that is, detrimental to the entire form of how we progress with a merger or acquisition.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, makes sense. And you have been in the HR space, you have been in the corporate world for about 27 plus years, right? And you have, so coming back to the mergers again, mergers and acquisitions, I had one more question before I move further is, how do you define a merger or an acquisition as a success? Like when do you usually define that? Immediately after that, or you give like 6 months, 1 year and say, fine, this is the success criteria. How do you define the success criteria, or what time period does it usually take for that to happen?
Fatah, that's a very interesting question because there is no defined time to really, put the label of a success on a merger or an acquisition.
Mhm.
Uh, it is, time, maybe revenue, uh, the employee satisfaction levels, a lot of things that go into it being termed as a success. But what usually, at the end of the merger, we take it as successes. Okay, fine, the deal is closed, it's announced globally or on the media, and that's what it is. That's a success. Whereas it takes a lot of time in the background to actually label a deal as a success.
Mhm. Same with mergers and acquisitions, both, right? It's
Both,
not really
both,
well defined.
yes, because finally it is the joint entity, and there have been instances where the combined entity had to demerge. They were facing such challenges that they had to demerge because by the time they completed the entire deal, maybe the industry sentiment changed, or maybe some of the good employees left and went away, or the revenues fell through, or what they had envisaged as the next course of action working together. That did not materialize. So we do have these kind of instances also where ultimately, even after closing the deal, things fall through.
And usually, what is the success rate? Like, is it more than 70%, 80%, or is it very less when it comes to mergers and acquisitions? I know there is no success criteria as such defined, but how do you see that? Like, how often do you see that as successful, and how often that is like a failure, or it does not really work?
You really cannot, define a percentage onto it. That is, uh, the sad part of it. You really cannot put a percentage that these many are successful and these are not, because it varies from time to time, again, industry to industry. And like I said, even the industry sentiment and the way we are headed. Like, no one foresee the pandemic. And
Right.
if two organizations had merged into one and they had started working on certain fields, maybe that market for that particular product will not be existing in today's time.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that you have taken the word pandemic, I want to shift this conversation on from the IT, from the semiconductor industry, from the mergers and acquisitions to the mental toughness here, right? And I know you have gone through certain challenges in your life, especially health challenges. Do you want to talk about that? Like, what are the health challenges that you went through, and when was it, and how did you actually recover from that?
Uh, Fatha, for me, probably, I started feeling some little issues with my health long back, but I had been neglecting them. So it was, bandit arrangement that I used to do. Whenever I felt unwell, quick fix, some painkillers, quick visit to the doctor to fix it, and that's it. And I never realized that my body is undergoing a lot of problematic changes. And in 2018, it all boiled down to a huge, big autoimmune attack, and things had moved to a stage where, there were some very adverse cell changes in my body. So for me, I had to just drop everything and concentrate on healing myself. Of course, the medical industry did play its part, but then on a larger scale, I think it is a mindset which I had that I have to get out of it and I have to do big things. And, I have come to this earth with a lifespan of 100 years and I must make the most of it. So I don't want to be, leaving here so soon. But my doctors were quite skeptical and they did not have a very good prognosis. But moving forward, I realized that mindset has a big part to play in the way we look at our lives and ourselves. And for me, this was a wake up call. And sometimes I feel that, had it happened a few years earlier, my life would have been more productive. But then, you can't foresee these things. So whenever it happened, it happened. But moving forward, I feel I'm more energetic. I'm doing more meaningful work. Of course, I was written off by the corporate industry, but I am back now, bounced again, doing very well in my designated field. And as a transformation mentor, you and I work very closely. So it's been, a beautiful journey so far. And definitely, I look forward to a lot of beautiful times ahead. One message which I'd like to give to people over here is that, no matter what you do, be true to yourself. Whether it's the work that you are doing, whether it's the life that you are living, be original. Don't copy. If somebody is doing engineering, don't go and do engineering. If somebody is telling you to do such and such thing, don't get to be told what to do. Identify your passions and your interest in life and work upon them. That is very important, to be true to yourself, because most of our, so-called lifestyle diseases and other such maladies arise from the fact that we are not really looking after ourselves. We just go with the flow, we follow the herd, and somewhere that goes against us in so many different levels, be it, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual. And it all boils down into a big, big problem. And all of us face this. It's not only me or somebody else. All of us face this. And the sad part is we still do not learn from these things. We get up and get back to the same cycle again. So whenever you face any adversity, just look within and see what is it that you are doing wrong, rather than blaming it on the rest of the world. And even if the rest of the world is not treating you right, it has got something to do with you.
This is very powerful, Sugita. This is very powerful, the message that you are giving here. I know you have gone through that pain, you have gone through that suffering. And how long was that, the health issues that you faced, and you were completely out of the corporate world and all that? How long was it?
For the close to 3 years. But
Close to
out
three
of that,
years.
yeah, it was 1.5 year I was totally, in isolation, not going out much for fear of catching infections. But then I worked out a system for myself, and after that, things really improved. And of course, I have some great doctors to thank for that I'm here alive. But beyond that, I think it had also a lot to do with the change in my own thought process and the people who helped me in transitioning.
Okay. And do you mind me asking, like, at an average, what was your salary when you moved out of the corporate world, in terms of when you had this health issues, challenges, and all that?
Fatah, I was drawing a very handsome package, so I think it was something which would keep anyone really happy and in luxury. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, most of it went into my treatment.
Hmm.
So
The reason
in the
why
end,
I
if
was
you see,
asking you this, the reason why I was
it
asking you this is,
yes,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
it really doesn't, matter what you are earning. It
Earning.
matters on
Hmm.
how happy you are, and
Right.
what you people still earn. I'm back at the same levels now, but I'm
Yeah.
much more happy. I'm much
Yeah.
happier. Of course, I mean, some part of my treatment will continue for some more time, but otherwise, if you see, I'm totally free of all my problems, and uh, I'm back to my original self, rather the
Right.
better version.
Yeah, yeah. This is very important here, because the reason why I asked you this question is, a lot of corporate professionals I see, they're just focused on that career, right? How do they grow? How do they make money? How do they grow? How do they grow? How do they get promoted? But somewhere they don't understand the other spokes in the wheel of life, right? It can be spirituality, it can be health, it can be their own mental fitness, it can be their relationships, it can be social. They give up on all these, and then they're just focused on that. And as you rightly said, it doesn't matter how much money are you making, because if you go through a health challenge, like you said, when you went through the health challenge, the entire money was gone there, right? And if you would have taken that timely steps, right, the right steps, being like able to focus on your health rather than just traveling places. You are traveling a lot of places, I know, right?
Yeah, I
So
was
in
traveling,
your industry as
but
well.
yeah, it was also not. I don't blame my career for it. I also blame a very imbalanced family life for it.
Hmm.
So I was, the kind of person who used to keep taking all possible responsibilities on myself. And, you know, I just had the support of my children. So
Hmm.
there, when you take on too much than what you can handle, it speaks on you somewhere. So I also
Hmm.
keep telling people that while, you are growing in life, be also careful the kind of people you are associated with. And
Right.
toxicity is something you should never tolerate from anyone, be it your own family.
Mm-hmm. And there are people, especially a lot of women employees, they take break, right? And after a few years, 2 years, 3 years, they don't know how to actually get back into the industry, the kind of money they were earning and all that. Like, what is the message that you have for them, so that they can bounce back or bounce forward, whatever you say here, right? And how can they again bring themselves back into the game? How do you think they can do it?
Fatah, this is such a pertinent question, and a lot of women face this issue: the problem of getting back into their careers after a break, be it for family issues, having children, or other supporting their husbands in their careers. Uh, Many organizations, and there are different smaller organizations that focus on getting these women back on their feet. But one piece of information that I'd like to share is, uh, why is it only the woman who's got to take a break from her career, right? If only a woman has got to take that break. As far as having your children is concerned, organizations give that 6-month maternity leave, and most people are able to come back and rejoin. But if you're taking a longer break, I think it is also the importance that the entire family plays in that particular role, right? So even men and husbands should pitch in with that kind of responsibility so that a woman's career doesn't suffer. And it is heartening to see more and more men are helping their spouses when they take a break, or they are compensating by themselves taking a short break so that both of them are able to not undergo any major strain. But where the woman is the only person who's taking the break, unless it's a voluntary one, I think it is something the family needs to be involved into. And as a society, I think we should evolve now. We should
Right.
stop looking at people with the lenses of women and men. If we are professionals, we are professionals. If husband and wife are both putting the bread on the table, then of course the woman's career should not suffer as well. Because once she steps back, I've seen with my experience, she also leads a very financially insecure life. So you deal with a lot of people who are trying to establish their mid careers and bounce back, and I'm sure you are aware of this problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is
Completely
one
agree
part.
with you, Sugeeta. Yeah, go
The
ahead. Go
second
ahead.
part is the organizations who look at these women or people who are coming back after their break. Even men, I've seen there are men who take break because of certain family issues. I know of a person who was not married, but his parents were unwell, so he had to take a break for about a year. But when he tried to find a footing once again in the corporate sector, he was at a loss to get any suitable opening, which was, comparing to his level of experience and previous salary. He was offered positions which were much, much below his capabilities. So,
Mhm.
organizations also need to see that we are all human beings and we undergo so many changes in our lives. There are unexpected changes. In the pandemic, we've seen so many people who've lost their family members, and many of them have taken breaks to, cope up with it and bring life to a working level. So something needs to be worked around on that front as well from the organizational perspective.
Right, right. Makes a lot of sense here, and whatever you are saying is so meaningful and so powerful, right? And as you said, as a society, we definitely need to evolve in terms of looking at careers from women's perspective or from men's perspective, or taking that as different careers, right? When both of them are putting the bread on the table, then both of them should be equally important there, right? But I see a lot of women, right, who actually give up. They feel that they are the sole owners of their houses in terms of taking responsibility of their kids and all that. And you have suffered there, right? And you have seen challenges where you had your own health issues, and you had to, like, you can't depend on somebody when you are going through your own health issues, right? Because you have been
True.
financially independent for so many years. So what do you suggest to people when they are easily giving up on their careers? I feel really bad when so many of my friends or colleagues come up and then they say this to me. So do you think they should take that responsibility as well?
I think, Fatha, most women give up because they feel that they will not be accepted, or they will not find suitable positions, or half their mind will still be back home, where the problems are with a child, or maybe a sick parent or in-laws. So those kind of things need to be taken care of, and by their own mindset. They should be prepared that if they have to come back to their career, they should prepare themselves adequately, and they should be also aware that a little amount of struggle may be involved. So not giving up is one thing, and even more important than that is reinventing yourself.
Hmm.
We only depend on our skills learned way back decades ago to get back into the current industry. But the reality is that, if we are not reinventing ourselves, it is going to be very difficult for us to come back into a position at any given point of time.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you actually mean here when you say reinvent for the benefit of the audience? What do you want them to do? I know you also help professionals to reinvent their own life, right? So, what is that reinvention as per you?
Uh, Fatha, reinvention means totally, looking at your life from a different perspective. And for that, you need to first deep delve and see what is wrong, what is right, and what needs to be retained, what needs to change, what needs to go, what needs to stay. So, all of us, over the couple of decades that we've been on earth, we are so used to being conditioned by societal norms, parental norms, norms set by siblings and spouses and neighbors, that we tend to lose our own reality. So I think reinventing yourself is all about firstly finding that reality and then working to grow upon it.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you definitely have been a powerful woman who has been a warrior, going through so many health challenges, coming out of that. Today you are a transformational coach, helping a lot of professionals to actually reinvent themselves. So great! I've always been inspired by whatever you do. And thank you for coming on this show and guiding people on mergers, acquisitions, on the health related issues, on how people can actually bounce back in their careers and all that. Now, before we end this particular talk show, do you have one last advice that you want to give to the people who are watching this?
Yes, I think we've already touched upon it, but I would still like to say that everyone should constantly reinvent themselves. And that is the only way to live a fulfilling life. Stagnation is all about, uh, you can say decay. If you are stagnating, you are decaying. If you're not progressing, you're losing some part of yourself every day. So keep reinventing yourself, and that is the only way you can, live a fulfilling life. And Fatah, thank you so much for having me here. You are such an inspiration with the kind of work that you do and the principles that you live with. And also, you always talk about the deep impact your father had on you. And, somehow all the time we are learning from you. So, thank you so much for being who you are.
Thank you, Sugita, for that. Big, I'm humbled and always gratitude to you and so many other people from whom I'm learning. And thank you for being here. And a very powerful message that you gave at the end as well makes a lot of sense. That keep reinventing, and stagnation is decay. Right, a lot of people get into the comfort zone. They repeat doing the same things for years together without understanding that if you don't progress, if you stay there, people think, actually one of the biggest challenge that I keep seeing from corporate professionals is they think not taking a risk is what will help them to stay safe, stay secure. But what I realized in my career and after working with hundreds of professionals is not taking any risk is the biggest risk that you are taking in your life, right? And that is where, as you said rightly, Sugita, that's where you start decaying, right? You start actually becoming a person who you were never supposed to be, or there is no progress. Then if there is no progress, then the meaning of life, whatever you are living, so mundane life, so meaningless life, right? Not really having anything that you really wanted to. So I think people need to start understanding the importance of making progress in life, taking small risks, doing a lot of things, reinventing themselves, and living the life to their full potential. And the one important thing that you also mentioned is be true to ourselves. Right? Just be true to ourselves. Whatever we love to do, whatever we want to do, start taking small steps towards that and start doing that so that life becomes meaningful and you will live the life to the fullest. So thank you, Sugita, again for being here. It was so very helpful, and a lot of things I personally learned, and I'm sure like people who have been watching us live and people who will watch us later on this recording will also get a lot of value from here. So thank you, and thank you viewers for watching this. And we are going to come up with more industry experts with more knowledge so that you all can learn, you all can actually start growing fast in your career, and you all can build your dream career. So, with that, thank you and have a great time.
Thanks a lot, Fatah. Thanks a lot for everyone who were there.
Thank you.